my homework. Then the kids beat me up in the playground. I did not want public recognition. When she heard that cute little slogan, you know, reprimand privately and recognize publicly. No, not for me. She was probably also treating me the way she wanted to be treated. We need to have empathy and treat people the way they want to be treated. That's the platinum win. Win-lose to win-win. Son, I'm not whether you win or lose unless you want daddy's love. Not enough we succeed, the cats must fail. I mean, we really did, you know, I don't know about you, but in my culture, I was raised, nice guys finish last, gotta blow your own horn, that squeaky wheel gets the grease. And you want me to think win-win? You want me to think interdependency? I'd share my practice with you, but I'm afraid I'd create a cycle of interdependence. I'd love to recite a poem. Can I recite a poem? A few more minutes? Sure. I mean, seriously, I came a long way, so I'm still here. The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox. When I recite this poem, I'd like you to put yourself in this situation. See yourself in this situation and think, what would you do? A woman was waiting in an airport one night and several hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book and happened to see that the man beside her, as bold as could be, took a cookie or two from the bag between them, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. She read, munched cookies, and watched the clock as the gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and he broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh brother, this guy has some nerve and he's also rude. Didn't even show any gratitude. She never known she'd been so galled, and she sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed for the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat. Then she searched for her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. Mine are here. He roamed in despair. Then the others were his. He tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. See, it's all about our paradigm. It's how we see it. You know, yeah, it's a war out there on the highway sometimes. People buckle up when they're not using their turn signal. You expect me to be win-win in the workplace? Interdependent? Yeah. But it's not easy. So winning our argument is important. How about saying I win and you lose? It's how we talk. It's how we interact. Those rats can get to the cheese individually or as a team. And it's about team. I had to show rats with cheese because how many read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Yeah, I'm so jealous. But you know what the message of that book is, folks? Never be satisfied with what you got. Always keep looking for new cheese. I don't get it. Why would you? I want people to be mindful and appreciative for what they have. You know? Not always be looking for something better. The grass is not always greener. Anyway, I'm done with that. Interdependent courage. I think that's what we need instead of independent laissez-faire. I love this, Martin Luther King. It may be that the greatest tragedy in this period of social transition is not the blaring noisiness of the so-called bad people, but the appalling silence of the so-called good people. Where there's fear, you get the wrong numbers. We need a culture where people are willing to talk. Well, I'm not going to, there's a book. Courage plus compassion. Courage is not enough. I'm talking about actively caring. And I'm going to just get to the end now, because I want you to understand what that wristband means. Actively caring for people. From self-actualization to self-transcendence. You've heard about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You satisfy our physiological needs and your safety and security, your belongingness, your self-esteem. What's at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah, so you think. So most people think, really. But before Maslow died in 1971, in his last book called The Farthest Reaches of Human Nature, he said he was wrong. The highest, the best you can be. It's self-transcendence. That's when you go beyond yourself for somebody else. That's when you do it for somebody else. And that's what safety is all about. That's what you're all about. You with the emotional intelligence to realize that people need to do some inconvenient, uncomfortable things for the possibility they could get hurt. The book talks a little bit about these 5 factors. I've already mentioned them, haven't I? You know, your self-esteem, your person. The higher you score on these, the more likely will you actively care. So here's a challenge. Talk about what happens in your workplace that reduces people's sense of competence, optimism, belonging, self-esteem, and what can we do to boost it? Because when you boost it, you increase people's likelihood that they will help others. We will build an actively caring culture. Finally, I want to show you a website. The website is on these wristbands. It says activelycaringforpeople.org. If you go to that website, I want you to understand that it means see, act, pass, share. I want you to look for people actively caring. Don't keep this wristband. If you want one for you, I want you to pass it on. So look for people who go beyond the call of duty for someone else. I want you to recognize them. That's your action. Recognize them by giving them that wristband. And then I want you to pass it. Tell them to pass it on to somebody else. I want people passing on this wristband. Your wristband, by the way, has its own ID number. If you take a wristband, they all have different numbers on them. And I'd like you, if you give this wristband, or when you give this wristband to somebody else for actively caring, I want you to share your story. What did you do? And I want you to put your number, wristband number, in your story. As soon as you do that, by the way, it goes to your Facebook. If you have Facebook, your story, your actively caring story, will go to everybody else on your Facebook. What are we doing? We're spreading the word that people are helping others. By the way, let me tell you quickly, we are reducing bullying behavior in elementary school and middle school by this simple technique of having teachers ask their kids to submit an actively caring story. And then if their story is read, they get to wear, we have these for kids' size, they get to wear this for the day as the actively caring hero for the day. And once everybody submits a story and participates as an actively caring student, you get this wristband to keep. It's amazing how many people love this and get involved in this and then put your story on the internet. It's so different than focusing on the bully and picking on the bad stuff. Psychologists know the best way to eliminate bad behavior is to reward behavior that you want, desirable, incompatible behavior with the bad behavior. So one more slide. If you share your story and you pass it on, you enter your wristband number and you can track where your wristband has been and where it's going. So a map comes up of not just the United States, and you can see where your wristband has gone. And wouldn't it be nice? When my students told me that, I said, they're not going to do this. Students are not going to take the time to write stories and do this. And then I saw the Social Network. And I saw that movie about Facebook. And I said, wow, maybe this could work. But only if we have people like you willing to do this, to share and make it happen. All right, finally, I got one final poem. I'm greatly appreciative for you all to sit up like these ladies who are listening to me ramble on and on. But let me share this brief poem. And I really felt this poem all day today when I visited the plant with Bob Peters and his colleagues. A tiger met a lion while drinking by the pool. Said the tiger to the lion, "Why do you roar like such a fool?" "Roaring's not so fully," said the lion with a twinkle in his eyes. "They call me the king of beasts, and it pays to advertise." A rabbit overheard a lion, ran home like a streak. He thought he'd try the lion's trick, but his roar was just a squeak. So a hungry fox had his lunch in the woods. The moral of the story is, it does not pay to advertise unless you've got the goods. I'm convinced you folks have the goods. You have the passion, you have the emotion, the desire, you have the tools, you have everything. And what I would just hope is that you would teach that to others. Because we need more than one company, one nuclear company, we need an energy company, we need the world to get what you guys are doing. So keep learning, keep teaching, and I wish you the very best. Thank you very much. And I hope you read when no one's watching.
Thanks, Scott. That was very inspiring. I know it's late. I know people are anxious.